Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. The internal crisis, shall we say, within the ruling APC on the national level, especially as it relates to its leadership, it would appear that matters have reached some level of untanglement for the meanwhile. A meeting was to be held today, but that meeting has not been held, is not going to be held anymore, and then it has been replaced with another meeting that has been called. And I'm particularly leaving it vague so that the experts in the subject matter with us in the studio shall be filling in all the blanks. One of them is definitely of APC. I'm talking about my friend Joe Igbokwe, an APC chieftain in Lagos State. He's also in the government of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. And, well, the other gentleman, non-aligned. I don't think he will let me get away with calling him an APC chieftain or member in Lagos State.
I'm a journalist.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I said, there you go. So Mojeed has said what he wants to be called. Mojeed Jamiu, executive editor, Upshot Media, is a journalist. In particular, jokes apart, an economic journalist. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Yori.
Yeah. Now, the question is the crisis in APC, the leadership crisis, over? Before you go into it, we have a report by our political correspondent that sort of gives an overview. I think we'll start with that. Many know the story, but not all.
Congress APC has been enmeshed in serious internal crisis, which was a fallout of the 2019 general election. Barely a year after President Muhammadu Buhari was sworn in for his second term in office, the party is in serious crisis. The crisis reached a boiling point when the national chairman of the party, Adams Oshiomhole, was purportedly suspended by APC members in his ward in Edo State. The position was validated by an Abuja High Court and later invalidated by another court of concurrent jurisdiction in Kano State. The Deputy National Secretary of the party, Victor Gaidam, now parried himself as the acting national chairman. The APC Reconciliation Committee, led by the party's former national chairman, Bisi Akonde, has been frustrated in its effort to resolve the contending issues. Party members prefer to head to the court rather than exploring internal mechanisms to resolve disputes.
The injunction that was delivered today at the Federal Capital Territory High Court this afternoon, and as a law-abiding party, we will respect all lawful court order and progress from that point.
Angered and saddened by this development, the APC national leader Bola Tinubu blamed the scheming to oust Oshiomhole on the premature race to the 2023 election. In what he described as an old ambition virus 2023, Tinubu wondered why they lined up to run a race for which the track has not even yet been constructed.
I think years after, a whole lot of people are still struggling to adjust to progressive politics. So to say, progressive politics is to speak to all that is good, the welfare of the people, delivering on the promises during the elections, and to be able to differentiate between when we should really have politicking and when we should have serious business of governance in place. Not to distract the man who have given a mandate. It's most unfortunate that we're having this. And having fought the opposition to a standstill and to form government, it's most unfortunate that we're also battling the opposition within now.
He also expressed his unflinching support for Oshiomhole as the national chairman of the party, insisting that those behind his ordeal should not be allowed to sacrifice the collective enterprise at the altar of self-aggrandizement. The national leader also described the National Executive Council meeting summoned by Gaidam as illegal. In his words, those engaged in these maneuvers see themselves as clever or cunning.
2023 is 3 years away. So why all these musings, why all this rabble-rousing all over the place? Why don't you just allow the administration to concentrate in giving dividend of democracy to Nigerians? I think that's what is most critical and paramount for now. And you heard the leader saying that they are rushing 2023 into 2020. It's like trying to bring the future, into the present. And I think it's uncalled for, and no sane person, no sane mind will want to do that. You should live tomorrow for tomorrow, and let's concentrate on today.
Party chieftains want President Muhammadu Buhari to wade into the crisis to save APC from being factionalized.
Among the issues we discussed was the need, with the resolution that the governors have taken, to work together and resolve all the issues in our party, and also to seek Mr. President support to postpone the National Executive Council meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow until such a time that the governors are able to report back.
It appears that the days ahead will be interesting and turbulent for the ruling party if the various contending interests continue their agitations. Ayodele Zubakun, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay, so back to studio where we started from with Messrs. Joe Igbokwe and Mojeed Jamiu. And by the way, let me just say that the Lagos State Commissioner for Health is preparing to give us a briefing on health, what with COVID-19 in the air. So we shall join him whenever we get the signal that they are about to start. But back to the present. Let me start with Mr. Igbokwe. The president has spoken up, intervened, and has saved the situation. But I might add, by the whiskers. It's like just like if it was with seconds to go. The question is, why in the APC wasn't this kind of action taken much before now?
Well, I was not there. I'm not too close to the president to know what his mindset is. Probably he wanted to see things. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see all things evolve before, you get information. You get information from people before you act. You don't just speak anyhow. But however, my thought is that this could not have degenerated to this level if the leaders, or if we had been, they say loyal party members, knowing what that there is a Conde's committee, reconciliation committee, is there? Nobody sought the opinion of that committee. Nobody did anything there, just going to court.
Okay.
Why this court? Somebody said he has been waiting for 2017 to get an appeal.
You know what?
And somebody will just walk in there and pick an appeal and go. Is it for sale? Are they selling it?
Okay, Joe, we're going to have to rest it there because, as I did say, the commissioner in Lagos State is going to brief us on COVID-19. So we'll just hang it up here for a while and, first of all, take care of our health, and we'll be back to studio.
And in the private domain, and we have moved some of those high care facilities to the Yaba Hospital, so that if any of our patients develop respiratory distress in the future, that we would know that we can manage them and maintain them in Yaba. It's not the time for us to start moving patients from Yaba to any other hospital, because we have to practice infection prevention control when they move out of the facility. So we'd rather to deliver that kind of care at the Yaba Hospital. Regarding the other borders, we have ramped up our surveillance at the land and sea borders. So we're monitoring people at our land borders with Benin Republic, with Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. Now that we know that there's a case in both Togo and Benin Republic, it makes that even more important. It's also important for us to monitor people coming in through our domestic airport, as there might be cases in other states. Cases may turn up in other states of Nigeria, and people would be moving into Lagos through the domestic airport or even by land. So these are some of the precautions that we now need to put in place as we see an expanding outbreak across the globe and across the continent. Okay, so I think I've addressed. Any further questions? Yes.
Okay, Wale Ademuji. Considering the limited resources that are available in the state, and considering the spread of our schools and public facilities, I was just thinking, is there yet any contribution from people who manufacture soaps, detergents, liquid soaps, buckets, and all these things that we're using? Because I think it's a time for us to call on them to be socially responsible to.
Okay, that's a very good question.
Any other question?
So we've had a lot of corporate social response from manufacturers and cosmetic industry that provide soap and disinfectants, and we've been very receptive to that. We're particularly concerned that we improve the sense of hygiene at our schools and institutions and public places and airports and public gatherings and churches and mosques. So we are carrying out a very large public awareness campaign, but apart from that, we have a massive school rehabilitation program going on right now, as well as a hospital rehabilitation program, because it's quite possible that at the hospital setting or the school setting is a very opportune moment for transmission to take place because of certain things that we do in these facilities. So while we're distributing hand soaps and disinfectants, water is the critical issue. Sanitation, good water supply so that children can have access to water to wash their hands. Important for our teachers to teach the culture of good sanitation to our children. Wash your hands regularly. If you go to the toilet, wash your hands afterwards. Before you eat, wash your hands. When you leave school and you get home, as soon as you get indoors, you wash your hands. Just practicing the whole personal hygiene thing and making sure that it becomes second nature. Similarly, at the hospitals, where it's likely that we'll be looking after patients with contagious diseases, the principles of infection prevention and control are all dependent on access to water and protective clothing. So, and the whole principle of IPC, what we call infection prevention control, is what we teach all our staff, from doctors to nurses to handlers and to healthcare allied professionals. So we thank the industries that are providing us with these accessories, but very importantly is the job of schools, both in the private and the public sector, to make sure that their sanitation facilities are up to speed and that they've got good running water and that they teach the culture of personal hygiene to our students right from kindergarten all the way up through to primary, secondary, and even our tertiary academic centers. Okay, let me bring you up to date with what's going on with our suspected cases. Right now we have 3 suspected cases in the facility. They have arrived yesterday in the evening, and we are monitoring them. There's a traveler, a Nigerian traveler from the United States who returned to Lagos on the 10th through the Middle East. and he's been well up until yesterday when he developed some symptoms of high fever and body pains. And because of his travel history, we thought it was important that we bring him into the Yaba hospital where we can monitor him for his clinical features and then run the test. So we admitted him last night. He's doing relatively well. We've taken his samples this morning and we will know the results later today. We have another traveler from the UK who came back on the 12th of this month. He has been well, but he developed some symptoms. So we went to identify him, and we've taken a sample, and we will run that test today. We've not admitted him because he just seems that he's complying with our isolation facilities, isolation instructions. So we will run his test today and we will give the results out to him as soon as they're ready. We have another traveler who came from the Indian subcontinent through Cairo, and that traveler developed a high fever 2 days ago, and we decided that although there isn't intensive transmission in the Indian subcontinent, because he transited through Cairo, where we know there are quite a number of cases now, we decided that we would contain him at the facility, run his tests because his fever was quite high and he was coughing, so it's possible that he fits the definition that we're looking for. But we cannot confirm that until we get the results. Remember that we've been testing suspected cases for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and we've not picked up any positives out of these suspected cases. We have a 30-year-old Nigerian who went to the United Kingdom earlier on in the month, and she returned on the 13th of March after a 10-day stay in the United Kingdom. And due to our surveillance at the airport, she went into self-isolation at home, and subsequently, during her self-isolation period, she became unwell with a fever and a dry cough. We went to collect her samples from her home and to ascertain that she was complying with our self-isolation practices. And indeed she was. And we retrieved a sample from her and we tested that sample. And that sample tested positive. So as of yesterday, we now have a 3rd case of coronavirus in Lagos, and as far as I know, Nigeria. That information was immediately communicated to the Honorable Minister of Health, the Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, and Mr. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Incident Commander for Lagos State. As I speak, the Honorable Minister of Health is delivering his press briefing in Abuja. She arrived on BA 75 on the 13th of March. So as of last night, we've kick-started the process of isolation. As I described earlier on, she's been moved from her home to the infectious disease hospital at Yaba, where she's been placed into isolation 2. So she's no longer a suspect, she's a confirmed case. So there's no need for her to go to isolation 1. She's in isolation 2. We've started the contact tracing process. Thankfully, she obeyed the instructions and she confined herself to her home, where she's only been in contact with her immediate family. That helps us tremendously because it limits our contact tracing to the manifest of the flight, which is BA75, that arrived on the 13th of March. We will be reaching out to every member, every passenger on that flight, as we did with the index case. But while we're making this a public announcement, anybody who was on that flight as a passenger, please feel free to reach out to any of the emergency numbers that I have given you. Those numbers are in the public domain. And we have a toll-free number, which is 08000 Corona, 08000 Corona. So we are going to repeat exactly what we did with the index case. Aggressive contact tracing. We've completely removed her from community. Luckily, she was very obedient to our instructions and did not leave her home from the point of arrival till when we transferred her to Yaba Infectious Disease Hospital. As an additional measure, she lived with her parents and one sibling, and we have transferred her entire family to the Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba, where we have a family suite, and we're going to put the entire family of contacts. She is in a different ward, but her contacts are in a family suite, well separated from each other though, and we'll be monitoring them and performing tests on them. This is an additional measure because we're trying in Lagos to be very aggressive with our approach to contact tracing and ensuring that we do not give this situation an opportunity for the virus to transmit itself. I spoke to her this morning. She's doing well. She's very comfortable. Our doctors who are specially trained are monitoring her. So far, she does not need any active intervention other than what we call supportive care. If she develops any symptoms, then our specialists will intervene with the appropriate therapeutics or management strategies. She's calm and comfortable. And at this point, I would like to encourage all Lagosians that we have gone through extreme measures to improve the environment of the Infectious Disease Hospital at Yaba. It is extremely comfortable, it is clean, and it is well managed by professional staff. I know that some people are reluctant to present themselves to our hospital, but it is on the standard that is comparable with anywhere in the world. So do not to come to our facility if you seem to fit the criteria.
So there you have it. That's Professor Akin Abayomi, Lagos State Commissioner for Health, updating us. And as you heard him say, so Lagos has recorded the third case, but the matter seems very, very much under control. And it's quite reassuring, perhaps, gentlemen, the way the regimen that he explains, that's going on. So that's what's happening right now. Coronavirus, it's all over the world, and indeed, we're happy that we have the lead of Lagos State in this. Now, back to our subject matter, the other aspect of our lives after health, because when you're strong and healthy, of course, one of the things you're going to be doing is be politicking. And Joe just finished before we had to join Professor Abayomi there. And so let me bring it to you. It's been said that the crisis was all occasioned by some politicians wanting to bring 2013 right into 2023, I beg your pardon. 2023 right into the present. And as I remember from Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu's statement that it's barely 1 year of the president's second term, and yet immediately people are talking. Is that your read of it too, that really this is little more than 2023 politics in disguise?
Yeah, Ashwaji, you actually tagged it.
2023 virus.
Yeah, the 2023 virus. And it's like, he said, it's like trying to run a race whose track has not even yet been laid, or like trying to pluck harvest a fruit that you have not even planted. Now, with those words, no, it is not unexpected. Look at, it happens in all economies, in all where you have politics of an incumbent who does not need a second term. I mean, who will be finishing his term. The moment we concluded the 2019 elections, people started agitating because they know that for Buhari, it's final. So you see all manners of intrigues, machinations, computations, permutations, and what have you. It is expected. But then they ought to have done it in a way that will not impede on our economy. And it's even now so unfortunate that we have a novel corona COVID-19 virus ravaging the whole world that is impacting negatively on the economy. It will be unfortunate for us in Nigeria to have a 2023 virus hitting in 2020. So that's, I mean, the COVID-19 alone is enough problem. You see the CBN cutting down interest rates yesterday. You see the federal government thinking of, staying action on the $22.7 billion facility alone it wants to. So those are indications that should tell our politicians that we have more serious problems on our hands than trying to trying to bring 2023 into 2020. It's still how many years away, and I expect that. Well, there's a reprieve for the chairman of the party. I mean, we have said this several times that you need not heat up the policy. If the problem from Edo has been nipped in the bud, I probably won't be having this kind of hydra-headed crisis.
So I wonder, Mojeed, how you relate to the point I put to Joe about why the president, or do you see the reason why the president would have left it this long to, as it were, now finally coming? Because if the meeting that was called and that was now decided was illegally called or not properly called, shall we put it that way, if that had happened, there are all sorts of speculations as to what the result might have been. How do you look at that situation? That, for instance, you were just saying that if Edo had been handled, if it had been handled at the origin, we might not have come this far.
Yes, you see a president who is the father of the house. I mean, you have a set of twins, boys, that keeps fighting all the time. At a point, neighbors might be wondering, why are you not calling them into? At times, we want to just sit down and see who will outshine each other, actually, by trying to be cautious that they don't really injure themselves. But, I mean, you watch them, and it's not all the time that they quarrel or they have big bats that you go there and separate them. I mean, I think that is, it's not a coincidence that that Ashwaju spoke a day earlier and the president acted the following day. It's not a coincidence. I think for leaders, they will want to watch and look at things and see whether some internal mechanism can actually resolve some of these things. But then don't forget, like Joe said, the party set up the Baba Konde panel, a committee to resolve some of these crises, not only the Oshomole matter, not so many other issues. But I mean, we have not heard anything from that. Even the president had to go an extra mile by constituting a 3-member APC governors committee to also, in addition to the Baba Konde panel, to also look into the crisis. But all this yielded no fruits until the president met with the APC governors yesterday and decided that no, enough is enough. Put a hold to this neck, and told the governors, I give you some time, go and look at how you can, I mean, harmonize everybody, I mean, and look at how you can end this a storm in the teacup, which I believe that naturally it is expected. It's a ruling party. Everybody feels they have a right to the number one position, especially, like I said earlier, the president will not be contesting. So the kind of respect they would have given, I mean, we didn't have this kind of issue in in the build up to 2019. I mean, everybody knew that the president was going to run, and I mean, they just left it for me. He won almost unopposed. So, but
okay, let me bring it to Joe, because you said in this kind of a storm in a teacup. Joe, I guess there are a lot of people that will say, no, this thing is much, much more than, you know, the proverbial storm in a teacup, because it was a bruising interlude. The APC chairman named names, so it was quite bitter and acrimonious. A lot of, and that is part of what I mean by it being a bruising encounter. All sorts of people were fingered for inordinate ambition. You then begin to wonder what's going on. What kind of a party had APC become? Because before becoming the ruling party, it was, I think one word that was synonymous with the party, the branding, was change. And before they had come on, is that there needs to be a change from the past. But Nigerians were watching and are saying that absolutely nothing of the sort, which is the very thing that Ashwaju in his statement bemoaned, that what's happening? Do you have an idea of what's going on, that people just trying to take the party, as it were, and see what they could carve out of it for their own individual wants, as opposed to looking at the benefit of the country, which is what all politicians say that they're doing in any case. But this one, it was clear that there are some people who were looking for, what can I take to my own domot?
You know, in some other climes, the moment you finish an election and the officers are sworn in, action starts. But it won't be enough. The actions won't be too much as to circumvent or render nugatory, issues of governance or matters of governance. It's managed. It's managed because these are part of democratic processes or process. People must play politics, but you don't do. You see, ambition is always a propelling force that weighs along our sense of direction, but it should not be inordinate. It will not be too much as to slow down matters of governance. So that's why we feel concerned. It started with a doe.
And was not nipped in the bud.
A doe? No. The chairman of the Reconciliation Committee is dealing with the matter. But some people felt, let me go to court.
Yes.
Let me go to court. But it's against
those litigations,
litigations. It cannot help our party. There must be party discipline.
But there's very little of that because I think I remember that Ashwaji's statement said that, and I've heard other people say it even before he said it, that all avenues and mechanisms within the party have not been exhausted.
Because if you go to court, two parties go to court, one will lose.
Sure.
The other one will gain. It has not solved the problem. It has not.
So is APC, are they willing to play by the rules, which is what you would have expected? Because remember, before APC came to power, it is the one thing that it used to criticize the then ruling PDP of being that they themselves are not that kind of a people.
Of course, we are not. We're not. My initial reaction to all this is that we have men in APC that when we get to the table, we'll resolve it. That was my thinking. And I knew then that we were going to come to this.
Do you think we're in the clear now for us to, because part of the statement again, because there's very few leaders wanted to speak, so that when Ashwaji did speak, he pointed out that the way his read of it was that there were even party members were possibly, potentially jeopardizing the legacy of President Muhammadu Buhari if they continued.
Of course, it's a needless distraction.
If they continued the way they were going.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day.
It's a needless distraction.
So the president.
It does not portend good for anybody.
So the president was going to be at the meeting that has now been, as it were, aborted today. And then, as I said, close to time, he now said that actually, no, because now that he's asked people to explore.
Who called the meeting? National Deputy Secretary.
So it wasn't properly called.
It wasn't properly called. It couldn't have been. It should not be. It's unheard of. Like as what you said, he suggested that somebody was beating the drum somewhere. And that is not in the interest of the party. That's why the leaders needed to stand, and they stood. So,
are there, Mojeed, do you think they're going to be, now that we can see that, okay, things are looking up, will there be casualties to this? Because all sorts of names were mentioned, for instance, at the meeting that they said they had yesterday that was coming to look at how this matter was resolving itself. Some key people weren't there. There are governors that are known to be on the side of, no, the chairman must go. And then there are other governors that are saying, there's no need for that. How do we now get on? What? Is it going to be a truth and reconciliation committee where no blame, but how is it going to happen now? Because some people, quite frankly, are in the process of, their noses have been bloodied.
I don't see, I see it as a temporary reprieve for the chairman, and for the party. And how APC manages this crisis, I mean...
this law.
Yes, I mean, will tell a lot on what 2023 will look like.
Okay.
And definitely there have been bloody noses, bloodied noses, and there will be casualties, because this is not going to be a case of no victor, no vanquished. But it now depends on how the chairman is willing to be magnanimous and to play that fatherly role. Where I've mentioned your name, I've seen that you did this. How he is able to manage that, because now he is the chairman of the party. I mean, with that APC Court ruling, I mean, which vacated the order of the Abuja High Court, that has reinstated him as the chairman. I think on the basis of that, he has called in an NWC meeting for tomorrow. Now, another thing is that the APC, the leadership of the APC, needs to look inwards, set up that BOT. They need a BOT, because those who went to court said they do not believe in the ability of Oshiomhole, who is also part of the problem to be able to resolve their crisis, to be able to set up certain committees. That's why they went to court, because they are, the APC has no BOT. So that's one of them. So I see no reason why, because the BOT should be able to rein in, like the PDP did the other time when there were issues between factions of the party. It was the BOT that stood up and reined in all the factions, and they were able to present a presidential candidate, and they fought a very good, they had a good fight at the presidential election. So,
one second, please. When you were talking about bloody noses, Joe was shaking his head. But before I come to find out what Joe meant, I think Taju is on the line waiting to. Oh, Malam Jaji. Malam Jaji. Good morning, Malam Jaji. Malam Jaji, can you hear us? Good morning. Well, yes. What did you mean when? Yes, that is exactly the way. When I was talking about bloody noses and how easy it was going to be to reconcile, because people have been called out. You know, we heard of all sorts of shenanigans, all sorts of what some could interpret as treachery. We've heard of the chairman at a certain time being propositioned to resign. We heard the whole story. It played out. But now the chairman is the chairman. How is it going to work?
The chairman is our chairman.
Yes.
And he has
a
lot of background, some experience, background to bring to the table. And we know why they hate him. Some people want to cut corners. I give you 3 cases. Imo State, Ogun State, and Zamfara. They were having crisis in Zamfara. Crisis of imposition here and there. And he went there and said, look, conduct. I'm coming there. I'm going to help you to conduct the primaries. The governor then, Yari, said, if you come here, you will not go with your head. That was that bad. Yeah. And he didn't go. See Zamfara. He went to Imo State. See, Rochas, you are a loyal party man. You brought APC to Southeast. But it is wrong for your in-law, for you to make your in-law to succeed you. Okay, choose another person. Just drop your in-law. Go to the other side and pick another person. He refused. My son-in-law must be governor. Who is to blame? He went to Ogun State. I said, look, one man said, I'm going to produce all the House of Assembly members, all the House of Rep members, all the senators. One man.
The president was heckled.
He said, no, president was heckled. He said, no, it cannot happen. You saw the result. So imagine if he was not there. So
all of these are the kind of things that are now called high-handedness, inflexible.
That's what they are timing, because they were not allowed to do what they want to do.
Yes, he's despotic.
To do undemocratic tendencies, to bring it to the fore. He stopped them. That's why they hate him.
In other words, he wasn't as pliable as they would have wanted.
In case of Rivers, they couldn't agree. They couldn't sit down.
I think Malam Jaji is back. Good morning, Malam Jaji. You're here now. Yes, please continue.
In case of Rivers, they couldn't agree. They couldn't, and have seen it from the leaders that are coming from Rivers State. We have seen how they managed that place and played into the hands of Wike, and Wike just took it away.
One moment. Malam Jaji, good morning. Are you with us now?
Hello.
Okay, hello, Malam Jaji. You're on air now.
Hello.
Good morning, Malam Jaji.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning, gentlemen.
Okay. Good morning.
Well, the topic you are discussing this morning is very, very timely. And I can hear you. I can see you waving too, George. I can hear you. So, you see, what is happening is akin to what Yoruba will tell you, that you need to be more green. It's just that those who Oshiomhole dealt with and retrieved APC for the original people that formed the APC, they are still fighting back. And what we have now is a temporary reprieve. So if I were in a chairman's shoes, I will try to be magnanimous if it's possible, and if it's not possible, I will forge ahead. But like Ashwaju said, they should let the party and the government fulfill the promises we made to the electorate prior to the 2019 election. Thereafter, any thoroughbred politician knows that immediately a government is put in place, those who are desirous of taking over legitimately will start, their own action. But the way our own people are going now is too brazen and distracting the government. At the end of the day, President Buhari will finish his tenure. But what kind of party do we want to present to people in 2023? Please have a nice day. God bless you all.
Thank you very much for calling in. That's the second time we've had that point re-echoed that, look, this is a cessation of hostilities. It's not actually a return to peace.
Well, we need a chairman as strong as Oshiomhole to strengthen this party. And that's why some people are fighting. But we will not give up.
Okay.
We've come a long way. We've fought. If they know how we got to this stage. That's why Ashwaju was speaking. In 2012, we went to Doctor, where he was made Arago. Some people thought we went there for chieftaincy title. We went there for the alliance that produced APC that we had today. Buhari cried in 2011 and said it's all over. And Ashwaju went back and said, look, we can't give up. We can't give up on this country. And all of us moved to Abeokuta. I was there. All the northern leaders, all the western leaders, we sat down and began to cook APC. And it came up.
And so now they have the product. Some people, it is the view of APC that some people, that is whatever is the genuine APC, some people are now trying to hijack it for their own selfish end. I think that's the way it's being phrased.
Of what meat are they fed? You cannot.
You
cannot give what you don't have.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in. Mazi Okorafo, good morning. I know there's a delay. Mazi Okorafo, we're waiting patiently. Can you hear us? Okay. If you can, when you just say something, we'll stop ourselves. Just, but this echo is getting too long. I don't think it's an echo this time. We're not waiting for an echo.
So those who want to take over, what did they bring to the table? Nothing.
And that's why
you couldn't even see the deputy national secretary that was calling for next meeting. Did he deliver his word? Local government, the state, they were fighting.
And so do you think, well, we have to get over this, but what kind of a peace will we then have at the end of it? Because we're talking about bloody noses now. I wonder should we not make too much about it and just leave that and let's just continue? Or, look, these are not insignificant names that are being mentioned. And if they, find themselves in all sorts of trouble now, Oshiomhole is back on top. People are saying everything depends on how he takes all of this.
The APC should learn how to manage the success.
Success, yeah.
It's very, very key. The chairman should understand that he is no longer that
labor
unionist. He's high-handed, fine, but he's been able to instill some discipline in the party. But then he needs to be a bit diplomatic. And you see, for those who are aspiring, who wants to bring 2023 to 2020, they should always remember that God factor. I mean, for those in Nigeria, we are all living witnesses to how presidents emerge.
So you're saying that what you're saying is that the chairman perhaps might consider moderating his style.
Yes.
But the way it's being said is that the situation within APC, you need a bare-knuckle kind of a person like Adams Oshiomhole.
Yes, I know, but as a father, if you have a son that is very incorrigible, you don't continue to beat that son all the time. At times, you need to take a look and even take a cursory look at why that son is behaving in a particular manner. Okay. So he is like he's like a father. He's a father to all. So for all those who have offended you, those who you think you brought them from the cradle and now they are governors, they are so they are, fine. It is God that rewards people. A lot of people have offended Asiwaju. They went away and they came back. He still took them back. They threw all some manners of death at him.
Yes.
But you see, Oshiomhole also needs that. And you should also remember that while he was governor in that state, there was a former governor who was also chairman of the party. What was their relationship? Fine, you are high-handed, you have been able to manage a lot of crises, you achieve a lot of success as chairman of the party, but you should understand that now you are the father of all. A lot of deaths will come at you. Yoruba people will say now you have become like Akiton, like a dustbin. Where they throw
I
all
love
manner
that
of
one
stuff.
that the Yoruba people come up with. Say,
Yes.
look, you're an Akiton now, all sorts of rubbish.
That
you
is
know,
it. So
you
need
consider
to
it your
be able
birthright
to
now.
soak some
They're
of
going
this
to be
in.
putting it on you.
And I actually fault him. Look at Asiwaju. Asiwaju wrote that piece fantastic. He never mentioned anybody, but those who he is referring to, they know themselves. But Oshiomhole came and he started mentioning names. That so person was so. You don't do that as a leader. So
Did you say Mazi Okorafor is back on the line?
He needs to actually retrace his steps, be a bit more diplomatic, and play that fatherly role now that he has another opportunity.
Okay. And, okay, it's interesting the way you've put it, and I can see the wisdom, because this is what elders will counsel. You see this kind of a situation. If you were to get to be specifics, and I know people are not particularly mentioning names, take the Edo State situation. Governor Baseki feels there that he has no chance of nomination, and he does want to go to a second term. Is the very origin of the problem. Now, from the kind of things that you've been saying, Joe, there's going to have to be a reapproachment. Of course, we are speaking from the outside. The chairman himself, he knows what is going on. I don't know. I don't know how all of that's going to work, because no doubt that camp must be a bit subdued now. With where we have found ourselves now, they're probably going to be wondering. It might just be magnanimous. Oshiomhole might indeed let Obaseki get another term, for example, which is just one of the issues.
Well,
just one.
If there are sacrifices, to be made, I think he should be in a better position to move now as a leader. Because he just mentioned that there have seen people that abuse Asiwaju. They couldn't pick it. He said, Asiwaju said,
sorry, I got, is it Saul in Onuoha here? It's Sam. Comrade Sam, good morning, sir. Comrade Sam in Onuoha here, I know, can you hear us? Yeah, Comrade Sam.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you for an opportunity like this. Yeah, I can hear you very well. Good morning. Yes, I want to quickly make my contribution. In my view, the national chairman of APC should be magnanimous in victory. I think he now has a second term to reconcile with those who felt aggrieved. And there was this thing he said yesterday. He said, he spoke in a better way. He said that he's going to ensure that those who have grievances, that he will listen to them, and that he's going to play a fatherly role. So this is the major area you should look at. Play that fatherly role, like the other speaker said today. He said, unlike the leader of the party, Asiwaju Tinubu, did not go about mentioning names. However, Oshiomhole, as an activist, he was busy mentioning names of who did this and who did that to him. There's a position you assume. You tread with care. We should not also forget in a hurry. When Oshomole was governor of Edo State, he wanted to make sure he controlled the party in the state. In fact, he had issues with John Oyegu, the national chairman from the same state. So it's like history repeating itself. No governor would want to sit back and allow his state to be controlled even from somebody from that is not the state governor. So the way for peace to reign in APC, the national chairman should maintain what he said yesterday. Reconcile everyone, then listen to those that have grievances. In fact,
thank you very much, Comrade Sam. Appreciate you. Really appreciate you. And that is reiterating what has also been said in studio. We've run out of time. It seems the only road available to travel on, some sort of a reapproachment, bringing back together, especially as you gentlemen have said, there's a chance.
A leader is like a pit toilet.
Yes.
Everybody comes to do whatever.
To do part of the price of leadership. So
you take the responsibility. I think now he has to, but let's not forget that he's the national chairman.
Yeah.
And has been the former governor of Edo State for 8 years.
So
the governor in Edo State must know that he's the national chairman. He should also know that he handed over to him.
Exactly.
It's a matter of
this
coming together to remove
becoming
ego.
the father.
Remove ego.
The whole fatherly role thing.
Yes, remove ego.
That's our
Let
program.
us go
We
to the
can't
conference
really
table.
go
That's what Akonde is saying.
All right.
That's what Achuwaju is saying.
Thank you very much,
know, in the
Joe.
face of
We completely run out of time. I'm sorry, we completely run out of time. Thank you, Mr. Joe Igbokwe, APC Chieftain, Lagos State, and Mr. Mojeed Jamiu, Executive Editor of Short Reports. Thank you, gentlemen, for your perspectives. That's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.